Welcome to the Employment Wednesday podcast with Yvonne Shabangu. Have you heard of the scripture Hosea 4 verse 6? My people perish because of the lack of knowledge. The same applies to your career. When you don't know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, you are likely to make wrong career choices. But worry not. Employment Wednesdays is here for you to offer you all the answers relating to your career and offer you strategies to develop your career. Enjoy.
Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Employment Wednesdays, and thank you very much for joining us. If you're new to the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're a regular, then you already know the drill, and we have another wonderful episode for you guys, so please stay tuned. So, before I go on with today's episode, we actually want to acknowledge some of the listeners that have been really vocal in our comments section, whether it's for the previous episode, for any other episode that we've had. We really appreciate you guys. Your feedback and your constant support really means a lot to the platform, and we hope to always deliver the type of content that you guys enjoy. Special mentions though, because I do have some names written down. So first of all, I'd like to thank Upabalo Molakeng. Thank you very much. Babalo previously left a comment just telling us, she appreciates one of the quotes that she heard on the episode. It was think beyond your circumstances. And she said that she really found that empowering, especially as somebody from Soweto, where you really understand the circumstances that we sometimes come from as Black people. Another one, unfortunately, because people do not use their ID names on their YouTube, we just have a Ta, I guess it's Tabang, maybe it's Sando as well. But they were also just expressing, the fact that they found the previous episode very beautiful. And they said that they love learning and drawing inspiration from the guests that we bring. Speaking of which, today I have a very exciting guest, at least from my knowledge. And I hope that whatever she teaches us today will be very insightful for you guys as well. I'd like you guys to welcome Alma Sazini Gumbo. And Alma is an admitted attorney as well as a fiduciary specialist. Essentially, Alma deals with trusts, estates, roles of curatorship, and a whole lot of exciting stuff that we'll dive into. And she's also very passionate about the empowerment world, especially teaching young people about the law, its intersection with our lives. You're going to see a bit of that as well during this episode. So please help me in welcoming Alma. Don't worry, you're going to get a whole studio crowd. It's going to be the Oprah Winfrey show, or even better yet, Dr. Phil.
Right.
And do the walk-in.
Yes. And then everybody's going wild, and I'm just like, yay!
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us. I think I'll just start this hot.
Sure thing. Let's go for
What
it.
is a fiduciary specialist? Sounds fancy.
Well, I think that was the intention. But
Yeah.
a fiduciary specialist, in essence, is usually an attorney who specializes, or a legal professional, really, because you don't necessarily have to be an admitted attorney to be a fiduciary specialist.
Okay.
But someone who specializes in fiduciary services. So that would be your estate planning, your estate administration,
Yeah.
your curatorships, your deceased estates, insolvency, but more like on the sequestrations or insolvent
Okay.
deceased estate sides. So everything that has to do with helping you to plan for your legacy and ultimately ensuring the efficient transfer of that legacy from one generation to another when the time comes.
No, that sounds beautiful. And I think I always love interacting with practitioners that deal with legal issues that we really can't avoid. Because then it becomes different from just, do you need a lawyer or not? It becomes, you will definitely need this person at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how did you end up in that technical and so important area of the law?
I love that question. Now I'm going to take you through a bit of a rabbit
Please.
hole.
Yes, please.
So for me, I grew up in a cultured community and family.
Yeah.
And I was exposed to customary succession.
Okay.
And in customary succession, it's hardly in favor of women and children.
Yes.
So like amasiko afana nokungenwa, and even as a child, that didn't sit well with me. I always wondered, why does everything have to go to the man?
Yeah,
As though the woman is incapable,
Yes.
Surely there has to be a different way of doing things. And
when I got to university eventually, succession was offered as an elective.
Okay.
And it was there that really I got to see what the alternative to customary succession is,
Yeah.
and what it means when we talk about succession and the likes.
Yes.
And subsequent to that, now that I'd had a solid foundation in theory, I had the opportunity to be part of a great graduate program at one of the leading financial institutions, and I was put in the trust division. And that was where really I got to see, draft wills for people, see how trusts work, learn more about the types of trusts, and ultimately advise on some of the contentious matters and administer the estates. And that's how really I find myself here today.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I understand that you obviously have an LLB degree, since that's what you need to be admitted.
LLB is for life.
But it gets better. It gets better. You also have a diploma in tax.
Yes, I do.
And you're also certified to deal with deceased estates. So it's not just through experience, it's also through additional certification.
Absolutely.
How was that journey, and how did you decide on, okay, in addition to showing interest in the field, let me also uplift myself and educate myself more?
I think for me, it was just observations in the area of work. So whilst I was still going through the graduate program, I noticed that although I had some kind of understanding, especially in the beginning, of what deceased estates are, and I read the act and I read more of it, I needed more so that I could at least be able to practicalize the theory.
Yes.
And fortunately at that time, the then head of estates insisted that us as the grads, it was myself and 3 other ladies, we should go for this course in deceased estates so that we could meet with other deceased estate practitioners and also just get practical knowledge. It was a lead course in deceased estates.
Okay.
It was wonderful. We enjoyed it. We asked practical questions. We got to interact with everybody. And I thought, I actually love this. And then with regards to the tax, right, especially in deceased estates, tax is like that hard collar around the neck.
Cannot avoid it.
I'm telling you. And if you don't sort out the pre-death and post-death tax affairs in a deceased estate, it's really going to delay finalization and distribution of that estate. And the real-life consequences of that are quite dire, especially where the beneficiaries were dependent on the deceased person. So I realized that most of the estates I was dealing with had a lot of tax problems, and we couldn't finalize them because of these endless tax problems. So I then put forward an application to the then former MD of Standard Trust, Mr. Leroy Monetzi. He was so kind. And I asked, I said, please, I see that we have a big problem with tax, and I'd like to understand tax because it's an integral part of our work. Would the company be open to paying for my bursary so I can do my postgrad? And luckily it was approved. And just like that, I now had the opportunity to explore tax and have that as an avenue of specialization if I want to.
That's beautiful, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I think I like the ambition as well, not only to identify something that might be helpful, but to just see it through and really go for that.
Absolutely. It's so important.
Okay, for my next question, how different is it studying your LLB as an undergrad compared to when you're doing it as a postgrad, and especially in an area that you already understand and you know the context of the work?
Sure. I think I found that when I was doing the postgrad in tax, I could ask real life questions.
Okay.
And when we were reading the theory, I could relate to it better. Because at some point or the other, I have encountered it in some way or form.
A bit about
and
what's
even if
happening.
there was a certain principle that I don't understand, I got excited because I knew that tomorrow morning I'm going to go to my colleagues in the trust department and say, but yesterday my professor said,
Ooh,
so
you're that
please
girl
can
now.
you just put me, excuse me. But so I think that is what I really enjoyed. In undergrad, it was a lot of theory, and the only practical examples we got were the examples given in class. But even then, you don't relate because it's a bit abstract. You see, so in postgrad, I think I enjoyed it a bit more because of that.
Okay. And I mean, since this is such an emotional and a personal area of law, as somebody who has to be the professional here and like have not only precision in your work, but just, be outstanding, how do you balance that the professionalism as well as just the personal aspects of this person was crying, this person is a dependent, this person is desperate, they need to see this process through. Like, how do you balance the emotions and the professionalism?
I love that question so much. One of the reasons why I chose fiduciary services is because generally as a human being, I'm very compassionate.
Yes.
You see, and I relate to people, I'm empathetic. So even in law school, I knew that fields such as litigation are not for me because
Yeah.
I'm such a soft person.
Okay.
I remember in our final year, we did a moot, right? I
Yes,
signed
yes.
up for moot and we had to now represent this client. And I got so emotional. And I was
Really?
like, yes, I even forgot that, it's make-believe.
No.
I got so emotional. And the presiding officer was like, oh, ma'am, I think you need to drink some water.
Yes, man. You're here
So
to
I was
kill
like,
people.
Yes. Yeah, but
Figuratively.
so I realized then that no, some fields such as litigation and criminal law and the likes are not for me. Instead, I'm looking for a field of law that will allow me to be both technically excellent, but
Yes.
also lead with empathy and also, strive with my characteristic of being compassionate. And so in fiduciary services, I have that opportunity. Because over and above knowing your work,
Yeah.
right, you also have to be able to connect with people.
Yes, yes.
In all of their unique circumstances, you need to have the ability to make them feel comfortable enough to share with you this most of the time,
Yeah.
sensitive information. What challenges are they having in their families that are now influencing how they're wanting to bequeath their assets? What is now motivating you to want to have this trust created?
Yeah.
Why are you disinheriting this person? Why have you not spoken to your siblings or your parents in a long time? You need to be someone who people feel calm and comfortable around, especially for these things. So for me, because I'm a lover of people,
Yes.
and I wear my heart on my sleeve, it comes almost easy,
Yeah.
I could say, for me.
No, that's actually beautiful. And I mean, I'm starting to now that I'm a bit more mature and a bit grown, but I never really saw law as one of those professions that was accommodating of different sort of temperaments, personalities, until you start seeing the areas of specialty.
Yes.
And I'm happy that, there's people out there who found sort of a zone where this is perfect for me and my capabilities.
Yes.
So yeah, that's very nice. And would you say it's financially rewarding? Because there's always that, I don't know if it's a misunderstanding, but people think the most toxic kind of law is the most money
The
type
most
of
rewarding,
law.
right?
So like what's happening on the more humanistic side of things? Like,
Okay. Is it financially viable, sustainable, and lucrative? Absolutely. Right. Because remember, whether we want to or we don't,
Yeah.
and whether we plan for it or we don't, ultimately we're all going to walk that line.
yes,
Right.
it's a
Yes,
certainty,
it's taxes
honestly.
and it's death.
Yeah.
Those are certain. So with us, and especially now that, we're seeing a lot of high-profile individuals, such as, for example, recently, I think in the news, the estate of the late former Deputy President, David Mabuza.
Oh, yes,
We're
yes.
getting a lot of insights,
Yeah.
into the consequences of not planning for your estate, and I
Yes.
think with the Sylvia Dlamini case that really brought to the fore the issues of the family home, all
Yes,
of that
yes.
talks to estate planning and why it's important to plan for your estates. And now, generally, right, the time we're going through now
Yeah.
is the season of the great wealth transfer.
I've
In
heard
the
of
next
that,
20
yeah.
years, we're going to have the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of humankind. We're talking around about $84 trillion. And in South Africa alone, in the next 10 to 20 years, 70% of all the wealth held in South Africa is going to change hands from one
Yeah.
generation to another. That is,
Yeah, it's a very big shift.
you know what I mean? It's a big shift, culture shift in terms of how we do things, how we approach life, investing, values, and the likes, but also for the fiduciary industry.
Yes.
That is a great opportunity.
Yeah,
Whether you
yeah.
are an investment professional, a tax professional, or a fiduciary specialist like me,
Yes.
because now you're in the mix.
Yeah,
You see,
yeah.
so is it lucrative? Absolutely. But would I recommend that people do it because it's lucrative.
Yeah,
No,
that's not the primary
you must
reason.
have something in you.
Yeah.
Must propel you into the industry. You have to have a love for it, because at the end of the day, there is the element of human connection,
Yes.
but the truth of the matter is it's pretty much an admin driven role, because after you connect with the person and you receive the instructions and now it's kumbaya and we're like, yes, we're
time
going
for
to
the grind,
solidify this legacy and then it's time for the grind. You sit, you read statute, you draft, you revise, you do this, you do that. If it's an estate, you go to the master's office, you battle it out, you fight for your clients.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sticking with that theme, actually, I mean, you've explained so much. Now that I'm wondering, what is the one or two things that people within the legal industry or outside usually get wrong about what you guys do?
Okay.
Start with the most annoying one, the one that makes you want to backhand someone, like
Nkosiyami.
figuratively.
Of course. Sure. That our work is old people work.
Okay.
And I understand why. Because when I started out through the graduate program,
Yes.
I walked into my then workspace and my colleagues were senior citizens.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They were like middle-aged, older, and the likes, and hardly any young people.
Yes.
And even in the graduate program that I was in with the ladies who were in my cohort, all of them have left fiduciary services. I'm the only one who decided to stick it out.
That's not nice though, because we're your friends. Like.
Right? So they've gone for the other lucrative things,
Yes,
practice, compliance, this and
okay.
that. Yes. And I thought, no, man, I love this.
Yes.
I enjoy this. And I think for us as young people, there's such a great opportunity here, because when wealth changes hands, it hardly goes from one senior citizen to another. It goes from a patriarch or a matriarch to a younger generation.
Yes, someone you can grow with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And us as the younger people, we have an understanding. We understand each other, you see. So we can definitely bring more meaning and a positive contribution into this industry. So yes, when people, you go and you consult with them, they expect to see someone old. So when they see someone who's like young and vibey, and they're like, oh, I was expecting a Mrs. Gumbo or a Mr. Gumbo. I'm like, ma'am, take it easy.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay, now I think going with that whole theme of being young, fiduciary positions require that, again, you be fit and proper.
Yes.
I think before we move on to some of the fun stuff, can you maybe address that element? Like, how important is it for a young person who still has a long career ahead of them, and that career might even be in an important area such as yours? How important is it that they keep their integrity, their criminal record clean, they try to be an upstanding citizen?
Sure. I think generally, as a starting point for the legal fraternity, it's important that we try our best to be upstanding individuals in our communities, and that we're fit and proper. So as with any other legal role or role within the fraternity, it is important for you to be a person of integrity, because remember, when we consult with our clients, we're changing narratives, we're changing mindsets.
Yes.
So already they look at you in a certain way. Even if you may be the youngest person in the room, there's a certain level of respect that is afforded to you. When you speak, people want to listen. Even the way they talk to you and how they ask questions, it's like they completely disregard your age. So with that as well, you also need to hold yourself to the same standard, so that you can also embody it even without speaking it. Because I think, your aura and your energy when you walk into a space, it also determines how people receive you. Yes.
Okay. And then how important would you say estate planning is for young people, and for people that perhaps might think, I don't have a lot of wealth, but I mean, there's like this Mercedes and this house, they'll just live in here and ride the car. Like, how would you change their mindset about, hey guys, this is why you have to do this?
Look at you tickling my fancy.
Yeah, I'm
now
trying
you're getting
to.
me excited.
Some of this is personal advice, by the way. I'm just getting a free consultation here.
Now you're getting me very excited. So as a starting point, right, we have a big problem in our country. Only on average, only 3 out of 10 adult South Africans have a will or something that they think is a valid will. Now that's scary because it means for every 10 people in a room, only 3 of them are being proactive about estate planning.
Yeah.
Now this cuts across tax brackets, this cuts across ethnicities and cultural backgrounds and the like.
So it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. It's everywhere and it's a big problem. Right. So with that being said, now let's dismantle some of these stereotypes.
Okay.
When you talk to clients, they will say things like, especially our elders, they will say, I don't want to have these difficult conversations around estate planning and the likes because to me, it feels like I'm inviting the spirit of death.
Okay. Yeah.
And where they do make the effort to get the estate planning affairs in order, the next limitation or perspective is that I'm not going to be open with my beneficiaries or my children or my family about my estate planning because I don't want to sow the seed in them
Yes.
to start planning for my demise,
yeah.
right? I don't want them to kill me. Okay. Then you'll hear people saying, but I don't have anything. I'm not wealthy. You know,
Yeah.
estate planning is for the wealthy.
Yes.
Incorrect. Remember, just as a starting point, the Wills Act says any person who is 16 years or older and has the mental capacity to appreciate the consequence of what it is that they're doing, which is deposing to this will, can make a will, in essence. Nothing about your tax bracket, nothing about anything else. And remember, when at the very least you get your will drafted, you're not doing it for what you have today.
Yes.
You are getting your will drafted in order to protect and provide guidance for the assets that you are waking up every morning to go
build.
and hustle for.
That makes
Right.
sense.
Yes. Your will covers you now and it covers you in the future. And I say this again to say, once you have taken this very commendable step and necessary step to get your will drafted, please let it not be a once-off exercise where now it's 50 years later and the will you drafted when you were 21, single and wild is still governing your estate and now your life has completely changed.
makes
Because
sense.
then, you know, it won't be a reflection of your intentions.
Yes.
Yes. So once you get the will drafted, after a year or 2 or 3, review your will. And especially when something impactful or significant happens in your life, you know, a loved one passes away whom you had included in your will, review your will. If you were single, now you've recently gotten married, review your will. If you were married and now you're divorced, review your will.
Yeah.
You know, we've had instances where people were previously married, got divorced, but never changed their wills, went on and met the love of their lives, and they never changed that will. That's leaving everything to the ex. And now
you're
we
out
have to give
Yeah.
everything to your ex, you know? And it has never happened in the instances that I have experienced where the ex is like, oh, it must have been a mistake.
Oh,
I
no.
don't want anything. Give everything to the true love of his life.
No, you're scaring me now because, hey.
You know? Yes. So please. And remember, when you do estate planning as well, it's not only drafting your will.
Yes.
We actually gain insight into your estate. What's your asset composition?
Yeah.
You know, your liabilities. Do you have credit life over those liabilities? Do you have sufficient liquidity in your estate? Because it's one thing for you to work very hard and acquire all of these assets, but then there's no money.
And now
What?
And I think people always, at least from my experience, imagine that the winding up of a deceased person's estate is like 3 weeks. Nyana.
Exactly.
It's like 30-day guarantee.
Oh my goodness. And it couldn't be further from the truth, right?
What's the longest period you've had for an estate, regardless of the circumstances, but just one that, this file?
But these questions are getting me so excited. Okay, so when I was still a graduate, starting out in the industry, I was given a portfolio of overdue estates, and the oldest estate was from 1992. It was a year before I was born, and this was 2016 or 2017, and I'm still administering that estate.
That's wild,
Right?
That's wild.
And now that I'm giving you this example about this estate, I want to tell you why it is that they couldn't finalize the administration of this estate.
I need closure.
Hey. bickering between families, right? People hiding important documents because they think I can go by myself on the side and go change ownership of this house and bypass the estate administration process. You see, so when there's a breakdown of communication in families and that bickering and that sense of distrust and people not wanting to cooperate, my goodness, not only does it delay finalization of the estate, but it's so pervasive. It eats into whatever legacy this person had left behind for you.
True, actually.
Because remember, an estate is a liability. And the longer it is open, the more of an expense it is.
Okay.
Right? Because you're going to pay taxes. You're going to file taxes for the estate every year. You know, your 6% commission on income after death, which is payable to the executor. Now it's accumulating. You're going to pay more in fees.
Yeah, because they've been sitting with this file and working on it and trying to sort out your things.
Yes. And I think what really hurt me the most about this file was that now siblings were not talking to each other. You know, they've become relative strangers. They speak so terribly of each other and they hate one another, you know, to the point where now they're planning bad things for one another. And for me, that was heartbreaking. Because at the end of the day, an inheritance is a gift.
Yes.
It's not an entitlement. It could have happened that the testator could have decided to bequeath the assets to any other person. But because they have that connection with you, you know, whatever the underlying connection is made of, they thought it necessary for them to gift you this legacy so you can carry it forward.
And is this why you highlighted the human element of things when we started? Because you did mention how certain people would not even be comfortable having these conversations with their kids to say, hey, I'm not going to tell you what's in the will, but at least just know I'm leaving you guys with some stuff when it comes time to cooperate with whoever's helping you. If Alma's asking for stuff, please cooperate because this is a gift for me. Do you feel like those conversations are more necessary, especially during like the stages when you're still fit and healthy?
Absolutely. You know, in some families, the relationships are not so great, you know, so we're able to come in and be that bridge, you know, and we'll sit with you as the client, you know, chat to you, get to know you better, what motivates you in life, what inspires you, because in our industry, the relationships are often long-term. You know, so you'd find, for example, that you've walked a journey with the client. You've seen them when they were setting up their business, working to become accomplished and the likes, and, you know, they were aggressively building their wealth, and then eventually they became comfortable. You're still there. You're walking the journey with them. You know, they're getting married. The marriage is a bit rocky. They're going through the divorce. You're like, oh, okay. You know, so it's like... I'm your pal.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
I'm here for you.
Do you think you'd make more money if you also became a psychology graduate? And then, I mean, just as a booth outside your current office, you just set up a mini station there, just, you know, a cubicle for an extra session, just on the emotional side.
And that's another interesting field within fiduciary services, family governance. Very important.
Please tell us about family governance.
So family governance, in essence, entails helping families to, how can I put it, to articulate and somewhat immortalize their values. So if you are the wealth creator, right, or the patriarch. And you know, and there are certain values that you subscribe to and you want the generations that come after you to carry on those values. They don't have to be lost in translation or lost when you pass away, right? So we can call in family governance professionals to come in and assist the family with drafting, for example, a family constitution. That will tell us, you know, and give us guidance on how exactly do we deal with the family honeypot when there's conflict. You know, when we are marrying, how do we deal with the makotis and the mkwenyanas that are coming into the family? You know, what values guide us? How do we raise our children in this family? And. So all of that, you know, and if, say, for example, maybe there's conflict in the family and they're struggling to resolve it by themselves, we come in as mediators, and we help the families resolve these conflicts before they escalate and ultimately affect the legacy that the patriarch or matriarch is wanting to build.
No, that's amazing. I mean, I know about this from a sort of Ubuntu or cultural perspective. I understand it from maybe in the rural or semi-rural areas. I did not know that in the urban areas you could actually get this as a service. Honestly, I did not know that. I mean, I know about the general psychology fields. Okay, and do you feel like this is something that especially Black people have been subscribing to lately, or do we still need more chats about that?
We need more chats about it, because for us, our values, our history is passed on orally.
Yeah.
And if something is not documented, it is at risk of being lost in translation.
That's
because
true.
what I share with you, when you share with the next person, there's going to be a variation there. Yes. So it is now in the information age, as also we are in this exciting chapter of the Great Wealth Transfer, where we can say, okay, maybe our elders are not so open to it, but you, my friend, let me plug you. Have you spoken to your parents about A, B, C, and D? Yeah, maybe go and consult on that. Then you go home and you chat to your parents about it. And you say, no, but mom and dad, I think it's important. If anything, maybe let's just go talk to Alma, and hear what she has to say. And
This
I think
is
you
so
might
amazing because you can avoid being left out the will by just addressing some of these uncomfortable things while people are still alive. That's amazing. Okay, speaking of wealth transfer, what would be your ultimate advice to someone who just won the jackpot and just hit the lotto? Yesterday, they did not have any money. Say maybe they literate, they got a job. They can read and write well.
Okay.
But damn, they just hit the jackpot. What's the very first thing we need to sort out for this person? Assuming a will is not one of the issues.
Okay. First and foremost, we're going to give a disclaimer. This does not constitute legal advice.
Yes, as always.
If you want legal advice.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're all human beings, and when you come across such good fortune, you're going to want to live your best life, fulfill your wildest dreams and the likes, and there's nothing wrong with that. But with that being said, it's also important to be wise, right? So as soon as you can, consult with a professional who can help you to structure that wealth properly. You can live a very exciting life,
but
without
with regulation.
Absolutely, and without negatively impacting your future.
Yeah.
Yes, you only live once, but you don't really have to dwindle all of it in your lifetime. Instead, it can be a foundation for something so impactful.
Yeah.
They are, although not common. So another interesting stat.
Okay.
It takes, on average, 3 generations for a family to break a cycle of poverty. And it takes 1 generation to put the family right back.
Oof.
So, the skills it takes to build the wealth are not necessarily the skills it takes to preserve the wealth.
Okay, yeah.
So it's in as much as, we are pushing to build wealth and we're wanting to learn and have all of these exciting ideas that we're pursuing, it's important that we invest in professional assistance or services to help us learn how to preserve this wealth and how to properly pass it on to the next generation. So vehicles such as trusts, those serve a big purpose, and especially if you are in your wealth building phase, a trust is really a vehicle that you must consider. It protects, it preserves, and it can exist indefinitely. I recall I once came across a trust that was 100 years old.
Oof.
And I thought to myself, yes.
Yeah. Do they still have a copy of the trust deed?
Yes, they do. They do. And it was such like, I was so inspired.
Yeah, whoever drafted
when I came
that
across
should
that
be proud.
matter.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, geez, and they had held on to their family values so well.
Ooh.
Like in that family, when a child is born, every child is bought a pony.
Ooh,
and that horse becomes their lifetime companion, you know. And I thought,
That's
such
very nice,
beautiful
yeah.
values. And we can all do that. Of course, even if you don't have that substantial amount of wealth to be able to afford stallions and ponies and the likes. But the principle of it is that with intentionality, when you are intentional and you seek, you know, the advice and the guidance and the professional companionship of those who specialize in helping people such as yourself to solidify their legacies, you will definitely go far.
Okay, I love that. And what's the current sort of sentiments around fiduciary specialists, trust and will, well, people who manage and administer trusts and wills? What's your sentiment around how young people are dealing with their wealth? And at least just our level of planning, our level of transparency. How do you guys feel about it?
We're not doing enough. September was National Wills Month. And so there's a particular week in the month of September. This year it was the 16th to the 19th of September, if I recall correctly. And legal practitioners around the country, master's offices around the country are drafting wills for free for the broader community. And I participate in this initiative, and we get there, and it's elderly women and a few elderly men who are there, you know.
It's not
Our
funny, by the
boyfriends
way.
are not there.
It's not funny. It's very disheartening.
Yes.
It's just typical as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our boyfriends are not there. Our fiancés are not. Our men crush Mondays are not there.
Baby daddies,
ladies.
nowhere
And
to be
neither are
seen.
we. And neither are we. You understand? The youth is missing in action.
Yeah.
The men are missing in action. You know, how is it that the future of our communities is still being carried on the shoulders of our elderly matriarchs?
Yeah.
Kanjani bafethu, we are in the digital age. You know, we've got access to everything. Everybody knows what a will is, more or less.
Yes.
You know, even if it's like entry level. But everybody knows. But we're not taking the initiative to get our wills drafted. Wills Week happens every year for 5 days.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this year we drafted less than 300 wills at the Johannesburg Master's offices.
All free, by the way.
All for free.
All
In a
because of
country
your
of
kindness.
approximately 60 million people, half of whom are probably eligible to draft a will.
I think you guys would have much luck setting a roadblock.
Yeah. At
And
this
everyone
rate,
who wants to pass, you either
this
have a
rate,
will or we draft one on the spot
I'm telling
before
you. I'm telling you, you know, so when we're not doing enough as the youth, you know, we are educated, we are empowered, we are ambitious, we're well articulated, you know, and we're working very hard to build us, to bring ourselves up and to build our legacies, but we're not planning for them. We're not proactively looking to protect them, to preserve them, and to efficiently transfer them to the next generation. You know, for example, the worst thing that could happen to an immovable property is diluted ownership.
Ooh.
Where, say, for example, 2 or 3 beneficiaries were bequeathed the property and now all of them own it. Because every time, when one of them dies, that property is on the line.
Oh.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay. No,
So
I feel
the
that.
beneficiaries, say maybe there's 3 of you,
Yes.
you've been bequeathed the property and you co-own it, 33% share, approximately each of you. Now, say one of you gets married in community of property, and you happen to inherit this property interstate without a will. So there's no protection of beneficiaries clause, right?
Yeah.
That's protecting you. Then one of you all gets married in community of property. Already you are co-owning this property. Ne? That one spouse already has his or her finger in the honey pot, right? Because when they go through a divorce, that 33% share in that property is also on the chopping block.
Ooh.
Say one of y'all dies, right? The beneficiaries of this now co-owner who is now bequeathed, they are now in line to become co-owners with the surviving co-owners. Now suddenly you were 3 owning this property. Now this one who's died has 5 children. Now you are 8 owning this property, with 5 children owning 33.3% of this property. Now you need to maintain this property. Who's contributing to the maintenance?
It's definitely not going to be a
You need to
maths.
extend the property, you know?
Yeah.
Now you go and you say, okay, I've got some money. I can see our windows are a bit outdated. The paint work needs to be redone. You go, you spend your money, right? Now it's for the benefit of the three of you. It becomes tricky.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yes, it's like you're setting the scene for conflict.
Yeah.
For an ultimate fallout.
Inevitably, actually.
Yes, and
yeah.
that is what usually happens in our families.
So, again, you've explained how we're not showing up. Us not showing up is creating all these issues.
Yes.
For young people that are currently either studying law or just have an interest in the administration of deceased estates, what's a good starting point for them in terms of trying to learn about this issue or realm of the law and trying to participate in solving it?
Oh, thank you for that question. What an awesome question. As a starting point, you can always offer to volunteer, probono.org. They do a lot of estate matters.
Okay.
Go to the master's office, find out what does each department do.
Yeah.
Take succession as an elective. A friend of mine studied at UP and they had administration of deceased estates as an elective. So
Wonderful.
That was awesome.
Yes.
So if you have the opportunity, do that.
Okay.
Yeah, learn more about succession. If it's school holidays, ask.
Yeah.
Go to the master's office, scout for us.
Yeah.
Reach out to us on the socials, see if maybe, our offices would be open to having you come and shadow us for VAC work,
Yeah.
so that you can get to see. Mostly you'll see us sitting down, grinding, doing the work because it's admin based.
Yeah.
But you may also have that awesome opportunity to sit in on consultations, see how we report estates.
Understand the story
Maybe,
and everything.
yes, understand the family story. And, on the more exciting and vibrant things, you might be part of a case,
Yes, yes.
that has to do with a trust or a deceased estate or contesting a will
Yeah,
or, you know what
yeah.
I mean? So it's never a dull day, especially where there's curiosity and a bit of passion to
Yeah.
get you started. You'll definitely have a
I'm
good
getting
time.
so much of that passion here. Yeah, like it's so lovely. And I think that would lead me to my next question,
Yes.
which is, since young people are very, very much involved in like the digital age, I think we're actually the driving force.
Yes.
And a lot of our assets are actually digital.
Mm.
What's the current landscape looking like for that? And how can the new school professionals, like the current guys studying their LLBs, how can they prepare for administering those types of things? Like, forget the houses, the farms you guys have been dealing with. How do you help the next generation transfer a whole Instagram account with 2 million followers? Like, please tell us that juice.
You, my friend, are a host after my own heart. Now I'm very excited.
Let's get cooking.
So yes, indeed, we are in the digital age, and when we plan for estates, it's no longer only in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
We also have to plan for your digital assets. So in your will, we can also deal with these digital assets, your cryptocurrencies, your bitcoins, your social media accounts, because now you've got these assets. Your photo album is now digital.
Yes.
You've got your notes where you were journaling your life.
Yeah.
And those are also saved on the cloud. You've got your social media accounts where you've built up a brand and a following, and you want those accounts to become legacy accounts when you pass away eventually. All of that we can attend to and incorporate into your will. So what we do now is, in the same manner that you nominate an executor to administer your estate, you can also nominate a digital executor to administer your digital estate, right? So it's a budding industry, really. It's in its formative years. There are a couple of people who are really like taking charge insofar as digital estate planning is concerned. So those people are familiar with, how the laws of different jurisdictions work for different platforms and the like. So we usually bring them in when there's maybe a digital asset that needs to be dealt. If we need to now request permission from Apple for your iCloud account. How do we go about that? What are the rules there? So all of these things. If you have cryptocurrency, for example, obviously you can't give me your crypto wallet key. But there has to be a way to secure that, to make that information securely available. So some institutions offer digital vaults where, say, for example, you can create a document where you jot down or type all of your passwords to your digital platforms, your crypto keys and the likes, and you store that in that digital vault.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And I mean, when you talk about a budding industry, it doesn't get more budding than this.
I'm
because
telling you.
a few years before, you probably would have been too early. A few years later, it won't be such a new. So I can see it now. So would you say that's a good subfield to yours for somebody who says, okay, I think I like, managing estates and all that, but I want to get into the more fancy and new age stuff. At least fancy to them. Yeah.
Absolutely. There are so many opportunities, especially now.
Yeah.
I've never been so excited before to be a fiduciary professional because there's so much that's happening and there's so much opportunity for us, and especially as young professionals, to make a meaningful contribution, and to really get in on the wave when it's quite high and ride it well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I understand also that you're doing your MBA.
Yes, I am.
Would you mind telling us a bit about what inspired you to do that? And is this part of you creating the wealth that you'll also transfer in 20 years?
Please, someone buy this guy a coffee. He's asking me such great questions. So what inspired the MBA is that most clients that we do estate planning for, are in business.
Okay.
So I realized that although I have an understanding of the principles on the estate planning and fiduciary side of things, I don't necessarily have an understanding of what it takes, to take a business from an idea to something practical, to making it sustainable, profitable, and then, you know what I mean, and growing it into an empire or a sizable estate. So I wanted to be able to have that solid foundation so that even when I'm in the room, and these conversations are happening, I can have the backing of that theoretical understanding, and I can reconcile that with my fiduciary expertise,
actually.
So I can ask the right questions and be actively part of the conversation. I don't want to have to keep quiet because now you're talking about business.
I love that. I mean, think about it. If we're talking about wealth creation, businesses are one of the main sort of drivers for wealth creation. And if you're the person that's going to be helping me either, build my wealth if we're starting at a young age, or, dispose of it at some point, you have to be clued up as well.
Absolutely.
I like that thinking. I really, really appreciate that.
And also sometimes, clients will want to have these businesses or their shareholding in these businesses held by trusts. Then the client will come and say, I'd like for you to act as an independent trustee in my trust that holds my business interests. So even then, although you're coming in as a trustee, but there's that element of business. So it's important for you to be business savvy.
That's amazing. And I'm also picking up a theme where you start off with your passion and just your general strengths. And then as soon as you also see an opening or a gap within that, you fill it up with the required information for that.
Yes.
So you see tax as a gap, you're like, let's actually understand tax.
Yes.
You see business as a gap.
Yes.
Is that a correct understanding of how you've been sort of maneuvering everything?
Absolutely. And also just an example on the estate planning side.
Okay.
If you're assisting a business owner or founder with the estate planning, you will ultimately touch on business succession. So now that you've built this business, have you identified a potential successor? Does that successor have an interest in the business?
Yeah.
And seeing as you are the key individual in this business, do you have a key man policy there.
Yeah.
You know, if you have partners, are there buy and sell agreements in place? You know, so it's interlinked. You
Yes,
know,
yes.
so hence I get so excited because no two estate planning exercises are the same. You know, I come in, I'm a working professional, I don't have business interests, but I have investments.
Yeah.
You know, so you need to know, okay, what is an endowment? What is a living annuity? What is a life annuity? What is the difference?
Yeah.
You know, what falls within the realm of the estate and what doesn't? What will provide us with immediate liquidity to keep your family going whilst we establish or report your estate? You know, because I think, again, with what we're seeing with the estate of the late former president Ubaba Mabuza,
Yeah.
you know, the lines were blurred between what a living annuity is and whether that forms part of a deceased estate or not.
Yeah.
Whereas now we know Uguti, a living annuity is governed by the Long-Term Insurance Act, not even the Pension Funds Act.
Ooh,
you know,
okay.
as people assumed. It doesn't form part of the estate and neither is it pension. So it's regulated differently according to different rules. Yeah, but so I have to have an understanding of all of these things because whatever scenario a client will bring will require that I, at the very least, am able to identify that, all right, there's room for us to talk about that and address that and address that. And maybe we need to bring in your investment manager in the conversation so that we can see how your monies are invested. You know, do you have an endowment? Oh, okay. It's not part of the estate, but when I'm calculating estate duty for you, ultimately, how will that affect my calculation, etc., etc.
Okay. And then I think the next question is just going to be on the practice side of what you do. So we all understand lawyers always have deadlines and timelines.
Yeah.
How do the deadlines and timelines look within your area of specialty? And what's like the biggest cause for the most intense situations or deadlines?
Okay, so the deadlines vary really, you know. If it's a will, of course we want to get it done for you as quickly as possible because life is unpredictable.
Yes,
you know.
yes.
But sometimes you'll have a client who call you and say, I've been diagnosed with a life-threatening illness and I'm dying. You know, so I want you to come and see me, or I'm going to come and see you so that we can make sure that my will is up to date, or you can actually draft the will for me.
Yeah.
Then that, you know, that circumstance will dictate to me that, listen here, Alma, tomorrow morning we're going to see Mr. or Miss or Mrs.
Yeah, it's
so-and-so,
urgent, yeah.
and we're getting this will done in the next 48 hours because, you know, this client needs to have peace of mind. Now, with deceased estates, for example, you know, even then, you always want to try and finalize the estate as soon as you can.
Yeah.
You know, because most of the time, the recipients are in need of those funds. But in instances where, say, for example, maybe you can't, you know, at the moment finalize the estate or you're still a bit far out, you can always then start having conversations around, do we have enough liquidity to advance you a portion of your inheritance to keep you going?
Yeah.
You know, if there are minor children, then we start talking about maintenance of those children.
Yes.
You know, you can make an application for maintenance of these children and the estate will pay. But it's all determined by the circumstances of each matter and how much money we have in that estate, which then takes me to that first point.
Yeah.
When I said you build the assets, but you
Yeah.
forget about the money.
Oof.
You know, so you have to make sufficient provision for the liquidity because a lot of things happen in estates, you know. So it's important that at least we have the money to be able to maneuver those things in those situations.
No, makes absolute sense. This one is selfishly for me. And I'm not,
You deserve it.
It's not about me, but it's literally what I'm curious about.
Yes.
Proving paternity in a case where Alma's administering the will, or the estate rather, the deceased estate. She has the will, or maybe there's no will. My mom was a baby mama, and now I just need to make sure that Alma knows I exist. That way she puts me into where the money is. Tell us about that process. Is it a quick one? Is it a tedious one? Is it even like something that's prevalent from your experience?
Not enough people actually, you know, take the steps to establish paternity. You know, someone will uzovela nje yathi, yeah, I'm so-and-so's child, you know, and then the family's like, yeah, and then the person just gives up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No
so
way.
they
I'm
just
not giving
disappear.
up.
Yeah, but and you shouldn't. And you shouldn't. So with regards to paternity, it's not really something that is difficult to do, because all you need really is a DNA test.
Okay.
You know, so you're going to need someone who links you to the deceased sibling, your fellow, you know, your uncles or your aunts or your sibling.
Can the siblings who are
Yes,
like,
do the DNA test.
can the
and
siblings
prove it.
refuse?
Yes, and they
Or just
people
dodge
do.
you
Yes, bakudodge yazi uzuncame. And you're like, no, but why? You know, so it does. But at the heart of it, you just prove paternity by getting a DNA test. If it says yes, indeed you are a descendant of the deceased, then if the estate is interstate, then you're in on it.
Konje,
But
there's also another
if there's a
thing.
will and you weren't mentioned,
Yes, yes. Can you draft that broadly to just say if anyone shows up?
my children. Yeah, some
Oh,
people
yes,
do
it's
that,
the
and
my
they're like,
children
I
language.
leave my estate to my children, you know, in equal shares or whatever. Then that's fine, you know,
Okay.
because now you are a part of the my children,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But if, say, for example, the will was specifically naming
The actual
descendants or children,
descendants,
and it excluded you, and you are a child of this person, and you've now proven paternity, right? Your next best bet, and again, this is not legal advice.
Not legal advice, guys. It's just open chats.
It's open chats, but it's your next best bet. If mhlambe, you know, the deceased was in some way or form assisting you here and there,
Oh.
you know, you can put in a maintenance claim against the estate.
That's something.
As a child of the deceased, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yes, then you
something.
get an actuary to calculate to help you, you know, establish how much your maintenance claim should be. Then that claim is put forward against the estate, and then it will be considered. And when the time comes, you'll be paid out your amount for the maintenance.
Okay. I think I have 100 other questions left, but unfortunately we are out of time. Alma, I really appreciate all the insight you've given us. I think it's been very, very lovely. And I'm actually very happy with the pace as well. I came in with so many questions and I think we got through like 80% of them.
Glad.
So I'm very happy with how far we were able to get. Do you have any closing words or just any words of encouragement? I know you interact a lot with the public, so take the next 2 minutes as just your moment to teach.
Okay. Estate planning is not that dreadful. It's not as dreadful as people make it out to be. You know, we're here for you. You know, not only do we have the technical expertise, but we also have that understanding of human nature. So we're not going to make the conversation dreadful for you. You know, in fact, it's going to be as easygoing and as light as this conversation that we've just had. And yet we're helping you solve a big problem before it materializes in the future.
Yes.
We're all going to die, whether we plan for it or not. So let us rather be the people who choose to plan. You know, you don't have anything today, but in 2, 3 years, 5 years' time, you're going to be in a very different place. Plan for that person.
I love that.
Yes, if you really, really, you're waking up every day and you're believing so much in the future that you are so decidedly creating. Plan for that future as well, the eventualities that might happen in that future. It's as simple as just having a will. I'm a trust and then just have a will in place, right? Let's have conversations with our parents, with our elders. I understand that, you know, for cultural purposes and all of that, they don't want to talk about it.
So
But abazali bethu laba, let us talk to them. At the very least, let us make them aware of the consequences of not having the conversation. You know, mengafuni mbukeli consultation, you know, uthi mama sambi uyobona Alma or go see another professional and let's have this conversation. But we absolutely cannot. Our people were previously, we have been for the most part perishing for lack of knowledge. Now we are perishing for our indifference and our refusal to act on all the knowledge that we have. Hey, Bagit.
I love this. I love this.
Let's do the right thing.
Thank you very much, Alma. And thank you very much, everyone who's joined us. Again, if you like the episode, like, share, and also subscribe if you haven't. And thank you very much for your continued support. My name is Tando, and then we'll see you on the next episode of Employment Wednesdays. Have a good one, guys.